Hey, Wes here. Thanks for joining me today. Today's video is not at all what I planned for today. And the reason is that all kinds of things went wrong. And I'm thinking, well, that's maybe a good thing because we really learn more from our mistakes than from our successes. And I had plenty of mistakes, and I think some of this stuff might be relevant to you as well. It all started out when I wanted to fire a puki. No big deal. But more importantly, what I was looking for was to do an experiment of creating a certain kind of blush. And the blush I wanted, it's called a Hopi blush. It's this kind of orangey yellow blush. And it's pretty cool stuff, but it is very difficult to do on a regular basis. And quite frankly, it is made with sheep dung, and more specifically, it has to do with the sodium in the dung that comes from sheep urine. All of that failed, and that's really not the important part of this. And so I'm kind of going to do a voiceover and show you what I was doing and some of the things that happened, because it really did fail at pretty much every level. And at one point, the whole experiment of the fuming or the fire clouds was irrelevant. I was just trying to fire the little puki so I could get a puki out of it. Okay, so here's what I did. I was setting up the fire and I elevated the puki. I think all of that makes sense. That went fine. And I spread the sheep dung on the bottom of the fire pit. That went fine too. And so all of that I think is okay and kind of irrelevant to this actual video. Then what I did was cover it with charcoal. And I've used lump charcoal a lot of times. I use that probably more than anything. I don't use wood all that often. And I have had really good success. And in fact, I bought, I think 10 bags, but they were 8-pound bags of lump charcoal from Walmart. 80 pounds of this stuff. It's amazing because it was a pretty good price. And they deliver it at no cost. So I thought this was a pretty good deal. So you can see I'm putting this lump charcoal on. The thing is, you can see that it's not particularly lumpy, and that should have been my first heads up that this could be a problem. I get it started, and it just never really heats up. And the issue is that the charcoal is small pieces. And what I have seen, if you're not getting a hot fire, it's usually not the fuel, it's the air, that you're not getting enough air circulation in to really get the fire going. If I had this kind of charcoal in a forge where I had bellows and I was going to forge iron, I think it'd probably work fine. But these pieces are so small and it was kind of dusty, it wasn't getting any air in it. And so the temperatures I was seeing was like 400 Celsius, something like that. It was really burning. So after it burned for, I don't know, an hour, hour and a half, something like that, I went ahead and added more charcoal to it. Well, I should have known better. I should have known better from the very beginning because I knew the small charcoal wasn't going to work very well. Then you add more small charcoal on top of that. That didn't work very well. So it fired. It never did get up to the temperature that I needed. You need a temperature of at least 700 Celsius, 725. And I was getting, like I said, 450 or something like that. So the pot wasn't even turning ceramic. So this was the point where I pretty much decided that the experiment was gone. I just wanted to fire this pot. So I let it burn down. I opened up the kiln. And I could see the pot really wasn't fired. And more than that, it was totally covered in black, which was no surprise. All of this sheep dung that was on the bottom, and because of the low heat, there's just a lot of carbon buildup on that. And, sometimes that actually can be kind of nice. Sometimes you make a pot where you want a reduced black carbon on the inside. Some pots were done that way, but they needed to be heated up first. And so that's kind of another issue. So at this point, I realized that it was a lost cause. And I just decided to kind of clean things up and build a wood fire over the top of the pot. So the experiment was gone, but I figured I could at least save the puki. And so I gathered up a bunch of wood, and I had a really good fire. You can see here that my fire was going up, 850, maybe as high as 900 Celsius. That was plenty. That's a good number. Everything was looking fine. I was feeling pretty good about it. And so it burned down some, and I'm not sure why, but it was starting to fall apart. It certainly hit the maximum temperature, and I decided that I would just kind of clean off the top of it so I didn't get a bunch of black clouds on or carbon marks on the top, or actually the bottom of the puki. It really shouldn't matter. This is a puki. It's not supposed to be decorative in any way. It wasn't painted in any other way. I shouldn't have done that, because what happened was that I got little spider cracks all over it. Normally, pots are pretty resilient, but if they are hot, and this thing was plenty hot when I did this, when I cleaned off all the wood, my guess is it was still probably 600, maybe 700 Celsius or something. But I cleaned it all off, and I kind of whooshed it away with some air, and that cold air hits that pot, and I could hear it start to crack. And when you get little spider cracks all over the bottom of a pot, and actually these went all the way through, that is cooling too quickly. I should, and I knew better than this, because this has happened before, so I should have just let it sit, let it wait and cool down in a normal kind of fashion, get down to, at least say 400 Celsius. Usually I wait till 100 or 200 Celsius. There's no big hurry about this. I don't know what I was rushing for. Here is the puki. If you look at it, it doesn't look too bad. I'm not sure if you can see all these spider cracks. They're all over. I've got to be very careful holding this thing, because it could fall apart at any time. There's cracks all over this thing. So at least it held together. That is the good news. It held together. And what I will do, I will salvage it. What I'm going to do is take epoxy and kind of cover the bottom, and that will hold it together, and it will work fine as a puki. But there were some good lessons here. First of all, the charcoal I used was called Expert Grill Lump Charcoal. I will never buy that again. I think if you get it in bigger bags, because I think I have purchased that before, it has bigger chunks. But if it has these tiny little pieces in it, it's just never going to get hot. So that was a mistake. And then adding more of that junky charcoal on top of the good stuff, or the first stuff, that just didn't make any sense. But I found out that, if you have a lot of carbon buildup, if you can get a good hot fire, you can refire pots. And I did just fine with that. The inside of this pot was totally black, and now it isn't. So that part of it went fine. But letting it cool off too quickly was a real mistake on my part. So hopefully we can all learn from that. And actually, I can salvage this as a puki, so it's not a lost cause. So thanks for joining me. Really appreciate it. Of course, we always talk about the thumbs up and the subscriptions, all that stuff. So thank you for that. Love the comments. And until next time, this is Wes, wishing you health, happiness, peace, and love. Take care. Bye-bye.